In the last video, we looked at a comparison of bullet magnetism or the bending of bullets towards targets in Halo 5 and Halo 3. We wanted to see whether Halo 5 had more bullet magnetism due to the presence of Spartan abilities like thrust and sprint. What we saw was that both games pretty much had the same high bullet magnetism, despite Halo 5 having abilities that increase movement speed and Halo 3 not. So in this video, we're going to do a brief continuation of those tests to see some more similarities and differences. Now don't worry if you haven't watched the previous video, it's not going to be a requirement to understand these tests because we're going to focus on a different weapon. That weapon, as you can tell from the title, is going to be the Needler. I'm isolating the Needler by itself because it is special in my eyes, very special indeed. It is a weapon that fires needle projectiles that track enemies. So within range, aim at a target, pull the trigger, and the needles will exhibit homing behavior. Whoa. Amazing, it tracks. Now what I want to know is whether the tracking of the Needler in Halo 5 is any different from that of Halo 3 and whether Spartan abilities play a role. So like the previous video's tests for bullet magnetism, we're going to place the reticle on the maximum red reticle point, MRRP, off the targets and observe how strongly needles home in on them. Now these tests are going to be relatively simple, so like before, I'm going to refrain from making any comments and just let you guys watch and interpret the information yourselves. But at the end of the video, if you guys are interested, I'll share my thoughts and my own conclusions. So without further ado, let's get started. So a few things that we need to discuss when it comes to the tracking zone or area around the enemy's hitbox. For Hipfire, the Halo 5 and Halo 3 Needlers have similarly sized areas where you can just aim and the needles will home in on the target. A key difference is that when outside of the max red reticle point, the Halo 5 Needler loses its homing ability while the Halo 3 Needler does not. Sometimes in Halo 5 you will get a few needles that will lock on at that borderline, but for the most part that's the cutoff. On the other hand, in Halo 3, the needles will keep homing in until reaching a max point beyond its max red reticle point. That being said, the Halo 3 max point looks to be on par with the max red reticle point of the Halo 5 Needler. It's kind of confusing, but it makes sense. But anyway, when looking at the whole picture, the Halo 5 Needler still has a larger tracking area because of SmartLink, which expands it to a larger degree. Now with the movement tests, it's pretty clear that the Halo 5 Needler has stronger tracking. The needles aggressively seek the moving enemy despite the reticle being slightly off target. For Halo 3, however, this is not the case. The needles will lock on to the target, but their tracking ability is not strong enough to reach the moving target. Basically, your enemy strafes out of the way. So the obvious question is, why is this the case? Why do we see these differences between Halo 5 and Halo 3? Well, it could be a few things. It might be velocity, maybe Halo 5's Needler has increased velocity that allows better tracking, but I don't think that's the case. I did 5 velocity tests for the Needler in Halo 5 and Halo 3, and these were the travel times for a target 20 meters away. Averaging these out and calculating the velocity shows Halo 5's Needler velocity to be 32.89 meters per second and Halo 3's to be 35.71 meters per second. So this kind of rules out this cause and effect hypothesis. So if it looks like the needle velocity isn't the actual factor, then what's going on? Well, maybe Halo 3's Needler is just, I don't know, my favorite word for terrible weapons. Garbage. There, I said it. Maybe this gun is just absolute shit. How you like that? How you like these apples right now? No, I'm just kidding. I'm not gonna say that crap. Come on, this is an analytical video. We gotta do some stats. We need to look at something else. So what else can we look at? Well, let's take a look at this clip again. Notice how the Halo 5 needles go after the enemy Spartan, exhibiting strong tracking, right? Now let's take a look at this clip. So thrust breaks the needler tracking in Halo 5, voila, and this itself pretty much explains why the needles have aggressive homing behavior. In this case, it's because of Spartan abilities, and in particular, thrust and sprint. The needler needs to be tuned in a way that takes into consideration the faster player movement when using these abilities. In other words, more aggressive needle tracking to track faster moving targets. Now, does this mean that the Halo 5 needler is overpowered and destroys absolutely everyone in Halo 5 and goddamn everywhere? No, I don't think it does. Almost 4 years of playing this game and it never seemed like this weapon was OP despite its strong tracking ability. And I think the reason why the needler fit well into the Halo 5 sandbox was because it was balanced out with the Spartan abilities that were available to the player, so thrust and sprint. But anyway, I'm gonna stop right there. I'm not going to get into the whole classic versus modern sandbox debate. Trust me, I'd rather avoid that right now. I'm pretty sure some other people want to avoid that too. All I want to show is that the Spartan abilities do play a role in the way the needler's designs function. So whether Spartan abilities are present or not present, tracking behavior itself needs to be altered in order to adjust for players' potential movement speeds. And this concept applies to other tracking weapons as well, not just the needler. Alright, so that's going to be it for this one. Hopefully the video helped you better understand needler tracking in Halo 5 and Halo 3. Anyway, thank you all for watching, and as always, until next time.